What's up, guys? Back with another episode of the Blaise for a podcast. Today, I'm going to follow up on yesterday's or the day before's episode where we talked about what was going on with the Candace Owens invite to TPUSA, and TPUSA seemed to stonewall her. Now, there's a lot of different viewpoints on that. Some think that Candace should have just dropped everything and gone. She did say anytime, any place. So at about 1 a.m., they dropped a time and a place. She shot back and said, I can't go personally on that time and place, but I can show up virtually at that time and place. They said, that's not sufficient, so it looks like you don't want to come. She said, no, I do want to do this, but I can't be there except for virtually. They said, no, it has to be in person, so thank you for playing. You will not be involved in this conversation, apparently. So at the end of the day, as I said last time, I still stick with this idea that just on a very practical, if you're not taking sides, taking teams, because that is the big issue here, right? We're all taking sides and taking teams. Team TPUSA, Team Candace, this, that, or the other, whatever. At the end of the day, if you can try to have the most unbiased perspective of the whole thing, you can say, well, Candace is just evil. She shouldn't have been doing any of this anyway, or TPUSA should have just answered every single question, whatever. Here's where I'm at. The whole world wants to see this conversation. For the most part, we all want to just see the conversation had so that it can actually be ended, right? But it seems as though if you just say the conversation needs to be had, that the final offer has come from Candace's desk to TPUSA. And they say no, they're not flexible on the date, they're not flexible on the time. If it's a demand to be in person, it seems there should be some flexibility on the date and time. Well, okay, we'll do the 17th or we'll do the 13th, whatever. It seems like there should be just one more counter offer that's very practical. I've had some people say, well, Blaise, she doesn't deserve that courtesy. It was a courtesy in the first place. Guys, they offered to have the conversation with her. So just because she's not saying, oh, I'll drop everything to go on the 15th, now you can have your opinions of why that is. Some said it was because of her birthday or because her husband's birthday. Apparently, her husband is having all these people in from overseas on the 15th, and it just doesn't work. At the end of the day, we want to have the conversation. It seems that the ball was in TPUSA's court, and they closed the conversation. It seemed to be a little bit unreasonable. It seemed that if they truly wanted to at least act in good faith, to say, well, we tried to have the conversation. Now, we tried. She said she couldn't show up, even though we live stream everything else. We were not going to live stream this one. We're not going to let her call in. It seems like they're not acting in good faith to just shut it down completely at that point. That's the impression that I'm getting. It seems that they could offer at least one more date and time, or just say, sure, call in and we'll run this conversation for 2 to 3 hours. But let's see, again, what Candace said about all this, why apparently she couldn't come, and what her offer is at this point.
That's ever in the history ever of people setting up debates, that's ever been how it's worked. That someone just arbitrarily picks a time and a place, and you admit you had no time and you did not have a date picked. So there's no reason you couldn't come to me and say, here's 2 dates that could work, and allowed me to do that. And by the way, I would still like for you guys to do that, okay? And one more thing I want to put.
It does seem kind of weird that they just didn't say, like, hey, we're trying to figure out dates to make this work. Again, for those that say, well, she doesn't deserve that, why even mention it in the first place if she doesn't deserve that? Why even offer her one date and one time in the first place? Like, that to me is just so disingenuous, and I actually want to believe Blake Neff. I want to believe Andrew �𝐀𝐍𝐓. I want to believe the TPUSA staff that they're being totally forthright and of good faith, but it doesn't seem that way. Well, some people are like, well, Blaise, this is so serious that it has to be in person. Sure, I get that perspective. So if it's that serious, why not make it work for everybody? Instead of pretending like it was a good faith pitch at midnight and say, you got 24 hours to respond, it's the 15th at 2 p.m., take it or leave it. Sorry, I can't do that. Can we do virtual? No, looks like you can't come. It's like, that just doesn't seem like you actually want to put to rest these allegations. It doesn't seem like you actually wanted to have the conversation in the first place. It sounds like you wanted to do a monologue response. And if that's the case, just announce you're doing a monologue response. Why pretend like you're inviting her to a conversation when it's a one-shot, yes, no, up, down, or nothing?
out there because your 24-hour demand is ridiculous. It's silly. Okay, let's strip it. Let's not pretend that there's some buzzard that got hit. We can still make this work, and I would like to make this work, and I would especially like to make this work if you are saying or implying that Erica Kirk is going to be there. Because the reality is that would be a game changer. I think
that's interesting. They're saying that Erica Kirk might be there for that conversation, and Candace is saying that she would like that to happen. That would be interesting. Some would say, well, that's just many have said that what she's doing is evil toward Erica Kirk. Maybe it is. I don't know. But the conversation at this point should be had. Maybe it could put it all to rest. I do remember that there was a viral clip of Candace saying, if Erica told me to stop talking about this, then I would. Now, as far as I've seen, Erica has not said anything about Candace Owens and this conversation. So it would be interesting if she actually did call her, record the call, and say, stop talking about Charlie and his death. It would be interesting to see if Candace would actually stop. Now, she might not stop, which would show a lack of good faith on her part. But we haven't seen that initial request fulfilled, from Candace to Erica, but here it is saying that Erica may be on the show on the 15th to address this stuff. That would be quite the conversation to watch for everybody, no matter what side you are on all of this, frankly, sad drama.
The game changer. I think it would be very powerful to have her there to represent the viewpoints in a way that they're maybe not being shared by Blake Neff, who is incredibly unlikable and speaks down.
Interestingly enough, with Blake Neff, 5 years ago, he was fired from the Tucker Carlson show for running a fake account on Twitter that had tons of racist language. So, one of the things that is interesting is that with Twitter, with X, people can set up fake accounts, or not even just fake accounts, but real accounts that are anonymous. And when you're behind an anonymous account, it gives a certain level of anonymity, a certain level of anonymity that people say what they really think. And when you talk a certain way anonymously, and if you go look this stuff up, I'm not going to pull it up because it was honestly very sickening. A lot of it was very sickening, and a lot of it was just very stupid, just like middle school type of comments. And so this was 5 years ago for Blake Neff, and here he is, the front man of TPUSA. I'm like, you guys literally are putting this guy on camera right now to have this conversation? I think that's a huge mistake. The guy was running a non-racist account 5 years ago. Like being a total middle schooler behind the scenes until he got caught, and then he got fired from the Tucker Carlson show. They're like, dude, you are like this type of person, you're fired. Anyway,
to people, and I don't know why he does that. It's not coming across clearly from your spokesperson, Andrew �𝐀𝐍𝐓, who seems to be on the road and isn't course correcting in the attitudes that are coming out, or at least telling people not to be like late night tweeting like Tyler Boyer. And yeah, it would be great if you are saying that on the 15th, Erica Kirk, as you are insinuating that she's going to be there, right? She's directing this thing. Are you implying here that she's going to actually be in the chair and she's willing to allow me to bring things and to go over timelines and stuff? Like, can you make that offer through the proper channels? Can you actually say that, since you now have more details about how it's going to work, and reopen that offer again? There's no way in hell that George can make the 15th work.
George is her husband, just FYI, George Farmer, and apparently that day is his birthday, and he has people flying in from the UK. We could all say, yo, who cares, right? You, Candace, made some of the wildest, most outlandish, and I'm not even talking about the validity of them or not. I'm just saying the most intense, high-level allegations toward TPUSA, and no matter what, you should just show up no matter what day and time, right? So I get that argument. At the same time, it just seems like there would be just a tad bit of flexibility. Not like a midnight tweet inviting the person to show up. Hey, you're welcome to come. You have 24 hours to respond. It's like, okay, so do you want to have the convo or not? It does not seem like they actually want to have the conversation with her. But I would love for them to prove me wrong. I would love it if they would prove me wrong. If you actually want to have the conversation, you want to have the dialogue, which, by the way, Charlie Kirk was all about open dialogue, to the point where he was saying some of the most intense things about October 7th, about Gaza. He would have conversations also with the TRANS community. Like, he would have the most intense public dialogue and debates. And the guy never backed down from the public dialogue and debate. And I highly doubt that if Charlie Kirk was in a situation like this, that he would be looking, going, oh yeah, you have 24 hours to respond about this time, this date. Oh, you're not going to show up in person. We're not going to have we won't dial you in. There's no way we're going to dial you in. Some of the most intense debates, the most intense dialogues in the last 5 to 10 years have been online because of COVID. And so it's to me, it's a total cop-out to say it has to be in person or it won't be authentic. It's like, what does that even mean? Let's go finish what Candace says here, and then we'll listen to what the reasoning why Blake Neff says this must be in person.
No, he shut it down immediately, and for a very valid reason. And it is not my inclination to go to Phoenix without having my team with me. And my husband is very much a part of my team.
And that's respectable. You know, some have said that she's not going because she is afraid for her life because of the death threats. Apparently, that's not really the reason. Or maybe, I don't know. She hasn't said that. I mentioned that last time. That could have been it. Could have been her husband's birthday. It sounds like it's a scheduling conflict and she wants her husband to go with her. That would make sense, that she wants her team to be there and she wants her husband to be there. Excuse me. All right, let's keep going.
But I will say that I will raise it further with the Supreme Court of George Farmer. If you are insinuating, and actually if you can confirm that you are saying that you will allow me, as you said further in this, to bring whatever it is because it would be more authentic if it was face to face. If you're saying that I don't have to deal with you and this is actually going to be very open and I can ask every question under the sun, I might beg. So I would love to hear from Turning Point USA.
So she just said, if you will tell me that Eric is going to be there and it's not just going to be a debate with Blake Neff, that's the impression I'm getting from that. Is that what I'm hearing, guys, in that section from 2 minutes to 2:48 there? That I will press the issue with George Farmer, her husband, and try to make a way to be there on the 15th with my team, which I think she by all means needs to bring a team, because otherwise it's going to be a group of Turning Point dudes and possibly Erica Kirk, which would be incredible, and Candace Owens at a table. And I think it would be wise of her to bring her team or bring her husband. I think that would just be smart and it would be safe. But let's go on to listen to hear what Blake Neff had said when a caller called in, a supporter of TPUSA. Let's just hear what he said, what this supporter had to say to Blake Neff about allowing Candace to come online for this debate.
And you guys do live streams all the time. And is that going to be an option?
Of course, Gina.
I'm just trying to make this come together.
Of course, Gina. So first of all, our initial statement, it was on the show on Wednesday. I made it at the request of Erica. All of this has been at the direction and approval of Erica.
So I think that's interesting. All of this has been at the direction and approval of Erica. So the request for Candace to come, the request to address all this stuff, has been at the approval and request of Erica. So it's interesting.
Because she heads this. And so what we were announcing there is we said, she has said things that are not true, and we did not address them for a long time. We stated the reasons why, that we thought a lot of them were just not... How to put it? We initially just thought no one would believe a lot of what was being said, and we also just... We remembered the same friendship that Charlie had, and we just hoped that this would go away without requiring any sort of direct statement or confrontation from us. So... what was approved is we announced we are going to respond to this, and what I said was we are going to announce a date soon. We actually hadn't agreed on it at the time I read the statement. We're going to announce a date where we're going to respond to this, and once we announce it, Candace is free to attend in person. That is what we announced, and so once we agreed on a time, I announced what the time was going to be. Candace, for her part, had said, you name the time, you name the place. That is what we did. As for why it was put out at that time, I would just say I don't think she had any difficulty in finding out what our scheduled time was. It seems everyone found it out quite.
So he's saying as to why it was put out at 1:52 a.m. or 1:45 a.m., whatever time it was, that's not a big deal. That doesn't matter. And I understand that everybody in the world knows that, they saw the tweet fast, etc. It is just weird. I think it's odd. But whatever, neither here nor there. Maybe people put out the tweet at 1 a.m. and, hey, you got 24 hours to respond. That's fine. I mean, it just seems like if they wanted her there, but it doesn't really seem, and this might be the case, it doesn't seem like a genuine invitation. It seems like, hey, if you'd like to join us on this day, we'll be doing this thing where we're going to be addressing all of your allegations. But dude, we need to hear a dialogue. Like, that's the power of the internet now. That's the power of, instead of sitting there doing a monologue, because what Candace is accused of is that she gets to sit in front of her million-plus audience every show and monologue all of her ideas, accusations, allegations, research, all the stuff, and some ends up having some receipts, some zero receipts. Some ends up proving to be true, meaning it's going down some type of a trail that makes some sense. Others, it's like, oh, that wasn't true, and oftentimes, they'll be like, oh, they just kind of leave that on the table and move on. So it's monologuing to a camera and to an audience with no pushback except for comment sections, which we know that doesn't necessarily force real pushback. But a debate or a discussion, it forces all sides of the coin here to look and go, they're forcing the conversation, and we get to hear the real pushback. Otherwise, what happens is Blake Neff addresses one of the things, Candace said this, and then this is our response. And Candace later goes, I didn't say it like that, and that's not what I meant. This is what I actually meant. Why don't you answer this part? Well, they'll never answer it again because, as Blake Neff put out, he said, this will be our deal once and for all to put this to rest, which I mentioned last show that it reminded me a lot of one of the what I would call corrupt ministers that has clergy essay allegations from years ago, Dr. Michael Brown. He said, I'm going to do a Mercy Culture podcast and put to bed and put to rest once and for all the allegations. It's a similar idea. Somebody said, oh, this is a logical fallacy. It's not the same thing. I can't believe you can't see it. I'm not saying that it's an equal sin or an equal allegation. I'm saying it's an equal strategy. Okay, it's an equal strategy, and if you can't see that, then you're missing something. Okay, it's an equal strategy in the way that it's being handled. Hey, we'll address it on this day, and then that will be it, once and for all. Well, if you're going to address it on this day, once and for all, invite the person causing the problems, and don't just invite them and that they can only show up this way, this time, in this way. Invite them in a way that makes sense for them to actually be there so the thing can actually be put to rest once and for all. Otherwise, it will not be. And this is a joke. You're going to go on for an hour and a half, 2 hours and address every little thing. And guess what? It's not going to go away because it's not just Candace Owens. There are multiple podcasts out there that I'm seeing addressing these things, and they're not even just going off Candace's information. They're doing their own research. They're doing their own stuff, and they're blowing up. And I'm going, this is a problem for TPUSA, and it's a problem for conservative politics right now because Charlie Kirk was the number one voice for millennial and Gen Z, especially young men in the conservative right. And now that he's dead, and we are getting strange stories from the mainstream narrative about it, and certain questions that seem to be unanswered, it's not sufficient. It's not sufficient for many who believed in the political system that it could possibly work, that we could possibly have justice, that we could possibly have a voice in a corrupt political system where you had a guy named Charlie Kirk that pushed back on the president about the Epstein list. So we need to release that list. He pushed back about things like the war in Iran or the beginnings of a possible war in Iran. Charlie Kirk did these things. He pushed back in a way that was genuine and sincere. And now he's gone, and we go, is there any way to have real justice? Is there any way to have real transparency? And without this conversation truly being had, I feel like it's going to actually show that TPUSA, even if they do have good faith, let's just give them all the benefit of the doubt. Well, Candace doesn't deserve a platform with them. Candace is totally psycho. She's schizophrenic, all the things that people say. TPUSA, just keep doing your thing, keep doing your thing. Well, your ratings are tanking. They've got like 5 or 6 million subs, and their views are getting like around what my channel gets, this small channel that has like 4,000 subs. It's like, dude, are you freaking serious right now? And you can say, well, that's because people don't love truth. They just love sensationalism. I don't think that's always the case, folks. I just don't. Let's continue to hear Blake Neff's reasoning again.
Quickly. And lastly, on the point of why it's in person, I think it's pretty intuitive that given what is being said, the way this has worked is that...
Okay, so first and foremost, he says, why does it have to be in person? It's pretty intuitive. That's his reasoning, actually. It's pretty intuitive based on what's being said.
It's critical to be in person if you want.
Based on what's being said, it's intuitive, based on what's being said, that it's critical that it needs to be in person.
Want to be authentic and to be detailed.
If you want to be authentic and detailed. So why does it need to be in person? Well, in order to be authentic and detailed, it needs to be in person.
And that is what we think is a fair request to make if she's going to participate. But regardless, it is going to go forward because we have agreed.
And it sounds like Gina, the caller, is trying to get in another word here, and he's not going to let her say anything. This is your supporters, bro. Like, she's calling in your show as a TPUSA supporter, and you are just running over her here. Listen.
That some response needs to be made. And so that's going to happen when we announce it on December 15th.
Yeah, and we actually got to hit it.
There she is trying to talk. And Andrew �𝐀𝐍𝐓, oh, look, he's dialing in from another location. Could you imagine? Is this conversation between them detailed and authentic? Doubtful, because it's not in person, right? It's not in person. So they're going to shut down this caller.
I'm one person.
Gina,
but
Gina, I'm sorry. We got to hit a radio break.
Sorry, Gina, but go away. Sorry, Gina, but I know you represent probably a huge amount of audience that listens to us and that would actually like to see this conversation happen one way or another. Live stream, in person, over Zoom, like whatever. But we're going to go ahead and go to a radio break.
Here, we can keep going in the break if you want.
We can keep talking when the break's happening. We can keep talking, but
if you have a follow-up.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We're going to take a break from radio. We'll be right back.
Mind-blowing. So there you have it, guys. There you have it. I am at a point now where I'm watching this play out. I'm watching this play out, and I'm going, the conversation has to be had. I mean, what do you guys think? Let me know below. And if you are a total anti-Candace person, which I know there's tons of those, okay? There's tons of those, and that's totally fine. But if you are, please help me understand why this conversation could not be had. Do you really think that if the conversation was had via Zoom, because here's what some people say, well, Blaise, she's such a manipulator. She's so maniacal and manipulative that she will manipulate the conversation if it's over Zoom. She needs to be there to look them in the eye so she can't be prepared. Or she'll have an earpiece in. Okay, well, fine. If she has an earpiece in, fine. Why does that even matter? Like, why does that matter? And the reason I'm saying why does it matter is because whatever information she presents, they should be able to handle, whether it comes from her studio producer, Skylar, who helps her do all the research and stuff, or whether it comes directly from her. I mean, they're going to have Blake Neff, Andrew �𝐀𝐍𝐓, 𝐖𝐀𝐍𝐓, who else? Frank Turk, possibly, I don't know. Maybe even Erica Kirk. So, like, who cares? Like, who cares if there's an extra person in her ear? Like, that doesn't matter. Or help me understand why that matters. Well, what if she gets better information from somebody else? Well, what if the information's totally false and can be debunked right on the spot? We'd love to see that happen. Put 12 earpieces in her. None of that actually makes sense to me still. Well, she's she'll be able to be prepared in a way that she wasn't on the CNN interview. She got taken to task on the CNN interview. That's fine. Okay, maybe she needs to be fully prepared. That would be nice if she has a fully prepared way of doing this, and they're fully prepared. That's the point, right? I just don't see in any world where you pretend like you want to have an open dialogue, like Charlie Kirk created TPUSA based on that reality, having intense dialogues with intense people that some of these people want you dead. Like literally, that's the way. And he said, "I'll have the open dialogue." So here they are saying, "You're going to show up on the 2 p.m. on the 15th, and if you don't show up, we're not having this dialogue. We'll just answer your stuff the way we want to answer it." I just don't think, and if that's what they want to do, they should have just said that. "Hey guys, on the 15th, we're doing a live stream to answer every single one of these allegations, and we're going to deal with them all, like point by point. We're going to nail it to the coffin. It's going to be done. Close, shut, case over, done." Why not just say that? Like, you know why? I think because I think it doesn't look as good as saying, "Well, we tried to get her. We tried to invite her." Knowing that the likelihood that you put one day that happens to be on her husband's birthday, who knows? Maybe they knew that, maybe they didn't. It's not that hard to research that kind of stuff, but whatever. Maybe they really thought she would just show up on the 15th. And then when she said she couldn't, they were like, "Well, she can't show up." So she said time and place. But it feels like they could at least go, "Okay, well, let's extend another part of the conversation. Can we do the 17th? Can you do the 13th? Can you do tomorrow? We'll all be ready tomorrow." Why couldn't they just show up tomorrow and do it all? Why not? It's not like you got to research all this stuff. Like, they were there. They know all the stuff. They don't have to prep. Like, just bring her in today. Like, "Hey, we'll fly you in today. Tomorrow, or you fly in on your own dime. We'll do this right here, right now, in person. Let's go." Like, make her look like the idiot if that's what you're trying to do. Because right now, I don't feel like that's what you're doing. If you really want to show that she doesn't want to have this conversation and that she's not prepared, make her look like the one shutting it down. Because right now, it just looks like you guys are scared to have the conversation with her. And I mean, I could be completely wrong, but right now it looks like you guys are saying, "Nope, we're not going to have it." Instead, put this, like, give 4 or 5 different options and make this thing happen so that it'll actually be put to rest. Because in my experience, when there's any type of cover-up at all, or any type of corruption, especially when I look in the religious world, not just the political world, anytime people say, "Well, answer these things once and for all, put it to bed," that's not always the case. That's not always the case, because if the answers aren't sufficient and there's pushback, then these podcasts are going to continue to go on. People out there are going to continue to bring in new information and ask new questions. And because you didn't host it in a real way with the main account, the main podcaster out there that brings the majority of these allegations, then you're going to allow for a lot of miscommunication because you're not even communicating. You're just talking into your own void, just like we could accuse Candace of talking into her own void. So let's bring the dialogue together, find a way to do it one way or the other. Hopefully Candace will get there. Hopefully George Farmer will figure out a way to go with her, and hopefully they'll be safe, and hopefully TPUSA will bring in every single person that they need to about this and have the conversation. Have the conversation. Now, do I think it'll actually put it to bed if they had it? It might. But with the volatile environment that we're in right now, there will still be disagreements, and there will still be people that see certain receipts and say those aren't receipts, and there will be other people that say that TPUSA shut it down completely, and others that say no, they didn't. At the end of the day, guys, I hope and pray that the truth about all of this comes out. Because there are a lot of looming questions about Tyler Robinson and about even posting things about Tyler Robinson right now. I mean, there was a recent post by Jack Posebic who said, "Hey, look, this is Tyler Robinson, shooting a gun when he was 16. And the face was blurred out. And then somebody said they found the original post, and it wasn't Tyler Robinson. It was Tyler Robinson's brother. And so it's very strange the way these influencers are acting like it's a closed case, and they're posting random things like that. And they're being used to just prove, to the public audience that Tyler is this, that, or the other. I don't know the answer. Frankly, I don't know the answer, but it seems a lot more sketchy than just like this one guy that on the top of this one building where, there's hardly any CCTV released. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts below on the Candace situation, on the TPUSA situation. Should they meet virtually? Should they get in person? And hopefully They make this happen. All right, guys. As usual, guys, this episode is brought to you by Wake Up and Win Life Insurance. That is the life insurance agency that I run. I've been helping clients over the last almost 10 years now protect their family and loved ones in the worst of times. Guys, term life insurance is the easiest thing to get. It's cheap. It protects your family for a large payout if, God forbid, something happens to you. But we also have other ways to do that with final expense insurance, whole life insurance, and index universal life for cash value, infinite banking, all those types of things. So if you're looking for a consultation with somebody you can trust, I'm happy to talk to you for a 30, 45-minute consultation, see if there's a way I can help. Click the link below. It's calendly.com/BlaiseForay. Again, calendly.com/BlaiseForay. All right, guys, talk to you soon. We'll be back with another episode. Peace.